One of the central themes in Kung Fu is about creating your own path. How did you discover your passion for the arts and storytelling?
One of my first memories of being attracted to this industry was I grew up in Hong Kong and during the era of VHS. And we didn't have a Blockbuster, but we used to have a local VHS store. And every week my family would go and pick one or two VHS movies to kind of rent out that week. And that was always one of my favorite things to do, to see all the videos lined up and like all the different films. And my parents let me watch some questionable movies when I was younger. I think I watched Alien at the age of like 5. So if that didn't leave some indelible scar on me, then I don't know what did. But I caught the bug that way. Just the cinematic aspect of movies has always attracted me to the industry. The composition, like when I'm on set, I tend to gravitate towards the directors of photography because I like being able to learn how to compose images, how lighting works. Just I generally love those groups of people, those parts of the crew, and I find that super interesting. So that's probably my earliest memory of getting into film, acting wise. I got into the kind of theater, the theater class at school, and I loved the aspect of rehearsing on stage and being able to learn a script, but then be able to play with it so many different ways. And even though you don't necessarily get that chance in screen because time is so limited, on stage, that's probably my favorite aspect of acting, is like you can do one thing one way and you can do it a completely different way with completely different intentions and experiment. And there's so much freedom to explore with that, especially as a kid, like being bullied and feeling self-conscious about who I was in real life. I felt like acting was an outlet to be able to explore different elements of my character or different characters without, the retaliation of being bullied afterwards. If it went wrong, you were just like, okay, do it again, because the scene, you can do it as many times as you want. I think that was a really fun aspect for me, quite kind of escapism.
Perfect segue to this next question, but you have a theater background where you're telling one specific story in a set amount of time, and you know where your character's arc is going. But on Kung Fu, you've been learning more and more about Evan with each episode. How has that changed the way that you've approached and developed this character?
When we first started the pilot, we got to sit down with Christina, the creator, and she kind of filled us in on her vision. And Hanley Culpepper, who's one of our executive producers, she directed the pilot. Was the three of us in that kind of creative bubble, and I got to learn aspects of who Evan was, but there was so much of Evan that I didn't know going in, because you either the scripts aren't written or you're not allowed to know. And I have a terrible skill of not being able to keep a secret, so it's probably best that I don't know. A little bit like Tom Holland in that I just have foot and mouth all the time. Approach to Evan really evolved as I got to know him as a character throughout season 1, and especially towards the end of season 1, when he started to realize that maybe approaching helping people with like such strict moral boundaries isn't necessarily the best way to go about it, especially the way Nikki approaches her problems in the first season. It's morally ambiguous, and Evan doesn't agree with it all the time, but he eventually can't help but admit that she gets it done. She helps people, she saves people. And Evan doesn't. So I really like his trajectory at the end of the first season, where you start to see a little bit more of a darker side to Evan, a little bit more freedom to embrace the grittiness. And my research for the role, reflected that in terms of doing more legal research and the inner workings of the DA system, and also how the public defender's office works as well, because I really like there's a podcast called Another Not Guilty, and it's these public defenders. I think it's set up from someone in LA, and they talk about their cases, and they've got a real kind of suave, like, I really love the attitude that they approach the law. And the more I listened to them, the more I was like, oh, I really want to get some of this into Evan, a little bit more kind of not Lone Rangery, but a little bit more kind of freer, less stiff.
Evan and Nikki have such an extensive history, but you actually didn't get to meet Olivia until you were on set. Was that chemistry just instant? What was that collaboration like, bringing that dynamic to life on the screen?
On pilots, I'm sure you know, but on pilots, you do things called camera tests where the actors get dressed up into costume, and then you come together and you're filmed very beautifully on just like not doing anything. It's all mute. There's no audio or anything. It's just to a soundtrack or whatever. And the first time I met Liv, it was like I was coming in from, stage right. She was coming from stage left, and we just met in the middle, and we were told to, okay, just dance and just have a good time together. And it's like, how do you rock up to a stranger and just like, hey, so this isn't awkward. Hi. And Liv and I instantly, I think we clicked over our goofy humor, because we were both awkward in the situation. We both make awkward jokes. And it was just like, okay, you're my people. So there was just like a mutual understanding there. And really from that day onwards, I was like, yeah, we're good. This is chemistry.
Like you were saying earlier, and Evan's moral compass is tested throughout the first season by the flawed system and his desire to help Nikki. For you as an actor, how much fun has it been to explore that inner kind of conflict and turmoil? And will that continue to be tested in season 2?
Yeah, it's been super interesting. Going into it, I've always known that there's, deep fundamental flaws in the legal system. I maybe had a bias towards that mindset, but it was really affirming to see that the character's thought process was gonna line up to that, even though it was in the nascent stage. Like, he maybe hadn't realized it, but there was going to be this kind of awakening process. For me, getting into the research of watching courtroom TV, or listening to those podcasts, or researching people like Chesa Boudin, Larry Krasner, these awesome progressive DAs, it gave me the tools with which I could inject like personal goals for Evan. So I could see Evan in that character, seeing these people and going, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I was working for them. I wish I could do that. And it gave me like a kind of fuel for Evan, like a hunger, and also a drive, build a foundation of his every objective that he was trying to achieve in the scene when he was being confronted with nothing but walls by his boss. It gave him this underlying kind of determination, and that definitely comes to a head in season 2. There's an episode which I can't talk about, which I have to remind myself not to talk about it, because otherwise I will put out spoilers, but where everything comes to a head and he really finds his footing with what he stands for. He stands up for it. He has help along the way. There's an inflection point in the series where it's now or never for Evan, and he is going to take that jump.
That's a great teaser. And more so than any other character in the series, Evan's relationship with the other characters grows and evolves over time. Which has been your favorite to explore, and why? And has that changed from season 1 heading into season 2?
Oh, so many. I've always, I mean, it's always great when Evan gets a chance to leave his office and go and actually have some scenes with the other characters. My personal favorite dynamic on the show is the Shen kids. I love the chemistry the actors have, and I love the performances and how it reads on screen. On one sense, I really love getting involved with Henry and Nikki and like doing the crime fighting thing. But there's actually one of my favorite scenes to shoot in season 2. There's a scene where Althea and Evan find themselves, together, and not down and out, but in a situation where they both get the opportunity to kind of lament to each other and open up. And you don't get the chance to see that in season 1. And that was one of the most fun scenes to shoot, because Shannon is so much fun and we have a lot of laughs together, and there's a little bit of inebriation in the scene, so that was also a fun aspect to play off each other as well.
Something that I really appreciate about the series is the way that the writers have incorporated humor in the midst of this high stake world that you've all created. How much of that is improvised? And for you as an actor, is comedy or drama more challenging?
Good question. I'd say that nearly all the beats, as it were, like maybe the funny beats or the comedy relief beats, I usually, in my experience, they've usually been written into the script and or discussed with the writer who's always on set with us. Well, in season 2 was always on set with us. I'm really not sure how much of it is improvised, how much of it is like, two minds coming to a golden result. It's interesting because one of my favorite films growing up was Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Mm.
It's I think Carrie Elwes has that like beautiful balance in that film of a bit like The Princess Bride. It's like such a straight character, but he's having all these kind of absurd lines. And I think I have a personal soft spot for comedy, but I also think that comedy is at its best when it's juxtaposed by the drama. So when you see, like, although they're extremely dated now, the old James Bond movies, like that kind of campy drama alongside this campy comedy alongside this extreme drama, I think that those parallel each other really well, and they complement, because you get this kind of, you get drawn in by the drama, and then the comedy relief is so much more effective that way. So I guess, I don't know, a movie like Indiana Jones, where he's got those fast quips and a lovable rogue character, those tend to be my favorite.
Yeah, another central theme within this series is about family, and there's such a great chemistry that comes off the screen between you and the rest of the cast. How did you all build that bond?
Oh man, I don't think we tried to build it at all. I think it was just there. We were super lucky with how it came to be, that just the chemistry between all the actors just happened. I came quite late on in the casting process for the pilot. I know that a lot of the folk had met each other or knew each other before, so they may already have had history together. But from my experience coming to the pilot on, I think I was there like a week after everyone else. It felt just like a family. It felt like, Ken was the mama and Ty was the papa, and we were all just kind of these, raucous kids. And everyone is so lovely. We're so lucky in a sense that, it's not always that way, that there's people all line up with how they approach their work, how they approach life, how they approach what their comedic taste is and stuff. And it just so happens that every single person on this cast gets along with each other. And I think that is a testament to the casting. And it's also a testament to Christina and her vision, and the creative executives in picking those actors or those people. Because as much as you deliver as an actor, I want to believe that the smart people in the power that be that create the shows also take into account, like, well, who are they as a person? Like, would they vibe together? And certainly my experience of coming to the show was, from day one, it was just like we vibed. Yeah,
you and the cast are in such a unique position where you get to see the fan response in real time through social media, and fans have expressed how much the series has meant to them. What has that experience been like for you, seeing the support from the fans?
it's been amazing. It's been really awesome. I never really did the live tweeting thing before, and so my first experience of this was, I didn't really know how to do it. But there was such a warm response from everyone online, and especially in the first season, as our kind of viewership grew a little bit, you just saw fans getting involved in the story. I think that's the most magical thing, is like, you put so much effort and time, or so many people put so much effort and time into creating a product. And then once it's being seen and experienced, when you hear that feedback of like, oh, that was sick, or what's he gonna do now, that kind of thing, it's just like, oh yeah, you're creating a ride, and however small your part is in the cog of that machine, it just makes you feel like proud to be able to create something that takes someone on a journey, especially when life has been so difficult for so many. I feel like having that escape for people that enjoy TV is kind of important for our Zen,
Yeah.
and to have a product that you not only do you watch and feel like, oh, it did something good, but you watch it and I think like, wow, I really enjoy that thing. I'm not always a fan of the things that I've worked on, but I'm a fan of this, and it's again a testament to the writing. Like, it has so much heart.
Yeah.
And I think the positive response from the fans is an extension of that. It all comes from the story, and the performances, like, as well. But yeah.
In addition to being an actor, you're also a musician. If you had to pick a song that would best describe Evan's journey in this series, what would it be?
Wow, a song that best describes Evan's journey. It has to be something about like shedding off
Mhm.
conceived notions, only because I've been listening to them so much at the moment. Indian folk metal band called Bloodywood. It's very obscure, but they are awesome people. And there's a song called Gadar, which I think is about realizing that the system that you live under isn't necessarily there for you or constructed for the best interests of the people. Therefore, make a change, get up, do something. And yeah, I think that's super
That's
obscure. That go away and listen to that song.
yeah, that's a great
Worth it.
answer.
They're a great band, but it's a bit obscure.
And in between seasons, you've been doing a lot of writing. How has your work behind the scenes made you a stronger actor, and vice versa? And could we see potentially one of your scripts come to life in the near future?
Definitely. It's tough with young kids because fortunately I have my wife is my life partner, and she's able to take up the reins when I'm not there, because I shoot in Vancouver and they stay here in LA and go to school in LA. So any time that I have free is usually trying to take the burden off my wife so that she can do something for
Mhm.
herself to kind of maintain her zen. But when I do have time, yeah, there are a couple of ideas that I really, really, really love and feel proud to have gotten into kind of pitch form. Waiting for the right time, I think. So who knows? In the future, maybe. But they're definitely not, gone and forgotten. It's just about finding the right time sometimes. Yeah.